Your mind can feel like a browser with too many tabs open. Thoughts, plans, and endless lists create a constant background hum. The ancient Stoics recognized this inner restlessness, and they crafted a thoughtful system to bring it to peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we must cultivate a sense of order within ourselves, because the universe itself moves with purpose. This video will share the complete framework for building lasting inner stability. You will learn how a simple practice of mental sorting can ease worry, and how protecting your mind from reactive thoughts fosters resilience. What is the one practice that can turn your most challenging day into an opportunity for growth? The first step in Stoic mental organization is a simple but profound act of sorting. It asks you to take all the thoughts swirling in your mind and place them into one of two distinct categories. What is within your control and what is not? The ancient teacher Epictetus laid this foundation clearly. He stated that our own actions, our opinions, our desires, and our aversions are within our power. Everything else, from our reputation to our health to the actions of other people, is not entirely our own. This is not a passive surrender to fate, but an active and daily practice of mental focus. You are training your mind to invest its energy only where it can actually make a difference. Consider the common anxiety around a job interview. You can spend hours worrying about whether the other candidates are more qualified or whether the interviewer will like you. According to the Stoic framework, those are concerns in the category of what is not in your control. They are external outcomes. What is in your control, however, is your preparation. You can research the company, practice answering questions, and choose to be punctual and present. By shifting your focus entirely to that second category, you replace a draining anxiety with purposeful action. The mental noise quiets because you have given your mind a clear and manageable job to do. So take a moment and bring to mind 3 things that are currently causing you concern. Now apply this simple filter to each one. Is this thing entirely within my own power to change? Is it my judgment, my effort, or my own action? Or does its ultimate outcome depend on factors outside of myself? This act of sorting is the very beginning of building a more resilient and stable inner world. It creates immediate space and clarity, turning a chaotic storm of concerns into a structured list of what truly deserves your attention. What if you could install a mental filter between an event and your reaction? This is the very heart of the Stoic practice known as the Discipline of Assent. Think of your mind as a fortified city, and assent is the guard at the gate. Every single impression, every thought that arrives must be stopped and questioned before you allow it inside. To give your assent is to agree with a first impression, to accept it as true and complete without examination. The Stoics understood that much of our distress comes not from events themselves, but from the judgments we hastily attach to them. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself not to be carried away by the sheer force of an outside impression. He wrote that things themselves cannot touch the soul. They have no entry, they cannot disturb it. The disturbance comes only from our own internal decision, from our own judgment. This ancient insight is the direct ancestor of modern cognitive behavioral therapy, which also teaches that it is not an event that upsets us, but the meaning we assign to it. Consider the moment you receive critical feedback. The raw impression is simply a set of words, but your mind, operating on autopilot, might instantly agree with a judgment like, "I am a failure," or "My work is not valued." That quick, unquestioned agreement is what sparks the fire of frustration or disappointment. The Discipline of Assent asks you to pause right there. Before you let that judgment through the gate, you stop the guard and ask, is this impression entirely true? Is it helpful? Is it within my control to improve? By inserting this moment of space, you reclaim your power. You might choose a different, more constructive judgment instead, such as, this feedback is an opportunity to learn and grow. This single pause prevents a difficult emotion from ever taking root. Can you recall a recent time when an initial impression, perhaps a brief message from a colleague or a sudden change of plans, immediately caused you distress? Now replay that moment with the guard at the gate. What if you had simply observed the impression without immediately agreeing with its most challenging interpretation? That small, deliberate space is where your long-term resilience is built, brick by thoughtful brick, creating an inner stability that no outside event can easily shake. Rising above your current situation and seeing it from a vast distance can transform everything. The Stoics called this powerful visualization the view from above. It is a mental exercise designed to pull you out of the narrow confines of a single moment and place your concerns against the backdrop of something much larger and more stable. Marcus Aurelius was a master of this practice. He would often remind himself to look at things from above, to see the bustling cities and farms not as separate struggles but as tiny specks within the grand sweep of the cosmos. He wrote that from a high enough vantage point, you can see the sea itself as just a drop of water and all of human life as a brief, small affair. This is not meant to diminish our experiences, but to grant them a profound sense of perspective. When your ego is tightly wound around a minor problem, that problem can feel like the entire world. The view from above gently unwinds that attachment, revealing its true scale. Picture yourself stuck in a stressful commute. The car in front of you is moving too slowly, and you can feel your frustration building, your grip tightening on the steering wheel. Now apply the view from above. In your mind, float up above your car, then above your city. See the intricate web of roads, the thousands of other people also on their own journeys, each with their own worries and destinations. From this height, your single lane, your single delay, becomes a minuscule part of a vast living system. The emotional charge of being late begins to dissipate, replaced by a calm observation of the larger picture. The same technique works beautifully for a workplace conflict. That tense disagreement with a colleague can feel all-consuming when you are standing right in the middle of it. But from a mental vantage point above the entire office building, you see it as one interaction among countless others, a small ripple in the flow of a day. This shift does not solve the problem for you, but it gives you the emotional stability to address it with clarity instead of reactive anger. Take a current minor annoyance, perhaps a long line at the grocery store or a critical comment online. For just a moment, close your eyes and enact this view. See yourself from a distance, then see the building, the town, the continent. Watch as your small concern shrinks to its proper size against the immense, quiet order of the world. This practice returns you to your life with a calmer heart and a mind anchored in something far more stable than the day's passing troubles. Stoics are not pessimists, they are prepared realists. There is a crucial difference between expecting the worst and being ready for life's inevitable twists. This brings us to one of the most powerful and often misunderstood Stoic practices, the Premeditatio Malorum, which means the premeditation of difficulties. At first glance, imagining potential hardships might sound like a recipe for anxiety, but when done correctly, it becomes its antidote. The goal is not to dwell on fear, but to disarm it through mental rehearsal. You are strengthening your mind against the shock of adversity by exposing it to a small, controlled dose in your imagination. Seneca wrote extensively about this. He advised his friend Lucilius to periodically anticipate the loss of his wealth, his status, even his exile. He was not wishing for these things. he was practicing a profound exercise in gratitude and resilience. By mentally walking through a scenario where he lost his comforts, he could fully appreciate their presence while simultaneously realizing that his core self, his character, would remain intact even if they were gone. The sting of potential loss is removed because you have already lived through it in your mind and discovered you can endure it. Let us apply this to a modern project at work. You have been leading a key initiative and the final presentation is next week. Instead of just hoping for success, you practice premeditatio. You sit down and calmly envision the possibility of the project not succeeding. You imagine the client not accepting the proposal, the data not being compelling enough, the whole effort not meeting expectations, but you do not stop at the setback. You mentally walk through what happens next. You see yourself acknowledging the outcome, analyzing the feedback without personalizing it, and then beginning the process of regrouping and planning the next steps. By rehearsing this path, you accomplish two things. You reduce the terrifying unknown of difficulty into a manageable, known process, and you realize that your worth is not defined by a single outcome. The same method works for a challenging conversation you need to have. Mentally rehearse the other person reacting with frustration or dismissal. Then, envision yourself responding not with equal heat, but with calm, listening, and stating your position clearly. You are not practicing for a fight, you are practicing for your own peace of mind. So consider a common daily stressor you might face, perhaps a potential travel delay or a piece of personal plans changing unexpectedly. For just a moment, do not push the thought away. Instead, invite it in and mentally rehearse handling it with complete calm. See yourself navigating the situation with patience and resourcefulness. This mental preparation does not attract trouble. It builds an inner foundation so that when life does present a challenge, you are not surprised, you are prepared. You have already won the most important battle, the one for your own equilibrium. The ultimate act of mental organization is to stop fighting reality and start loving it. This is the profound Stoic principle of amor fati, a love of one's fate. It is the final, integrating piece that brings all the other practices into a single, coherent whole. This is not a passive surrender where you simply give up and accept whatever happens with a sigh. It is an active, creative, and even joyful embrace of every event as necessary fuel for your growth. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius constantly reinforced this idea, writing that a blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. He saw his own will as being in harmony with the will of nature itself, accepting every single thing that happened as if he had asked for it. This philosophy was later beautifully captured by Friedrich Nietzsche, who said his formula for human greatness was amor fati, to want nothing to be different, not in the future, not in the past, not for all eternity. Every hardship, every joy, every seemingly random occurrence is woven into the fabric of your life story, and to love your fate is to love the entire, unique tapestry you are creating. Think of a past experience you had, one that still carries a certain weight. The typical, disorganized mind fights this memory. It replays the event, wishing things had been different, creating a constant internal conflict that drains your energy. Amor fati asks you to turn and face that memory directly. Instead of seeing it as a failure, you reframe it as a crucial teacher. That professional misstep taught you a vital lesson about diligence. That challenging conversation taught you about communication and boundaries. By loving that event for the wisdom it brought you, you integrate it into your being. It is no longer a source of discomfort lodged in your mind, but a foundational part of your strength. The internal war ends and a deep coherence takes its place. Now bring this to a present limitation. Perhaps you feel held back by a lack of a certain skill or a particular circumstance in your life. the untrained mind sees this as a wall, an obstacle to happiness. The mind practicing amor fati sees it as the very ground upon which you must build. It is not a barrier to your path, it is the path itself. This shift in perspective is incredibly liberating. You stop wasting energy resenting your starting point and instead pour all your focus into the creative act of moving forward from exactly where you are. What is one event in your life currently seen as a negative that you can begin to view with amor fati? Choose one thing and for a moment consider how it has shaped you, what resilience it has revealed, or what new direction it has opened up. To love your fate is the final, masterful step in organizing your inner world, transforming a collection of separate struggles into a single, purposeful, and unshakable life. Your mind is a quiet fortress, a personal citadel standing firm against the outer world's changing weather. You are its sole guardian, the one who decides what enters its gates and what remains outside. This powerful image of the inner citadel comes directly from the writings of Marcus Aurelius, who described the soul as a stronghold that nothing can truly disturb without its own consent. It is not a physical place, but a space of absolute mental sovereignty built from your own judgments and your commitment to living well. External events may gather at the walls, but they cannot cross them unless you lower the drawbridge through your own permission. This citadel is not simply given to you, it is built piece by piece through the daily practice of the principles we have explored, the sorting of concerns, the discipline of thoughtful response, and the loving acceptance of your path. Imagine the sudden arrival of difficult news, perhaps an unexpected obligation or a professional challenge. The initial impression is loud and demanding, like a messenger arriving at the castle gate. An untrained guardian might open the gates in haste, letting the commotion enter the inner courtyards. But you, as the practiced guardian, pause. You observe the messenger from the high wall. You apply your training. Is this event within my control? Is my initial judgment about it entirely true? By holding that space, you keep the gates secure. The event remains outside, a circumstance you will address, but it does not become an inner turmoil that disturbs your core peace. The strength of your citadel is measured not by the absence of external challenges, but by your ability to remain calm and clear while they happen. Think of being in that traffic delay once more. The noise, the frustration, the weight are all real, but inside your citadel there is a different reality. Here, you can observe the commotion without being consumed by it. Your inner court is a place of thoughtful judgment, where you decide that this delay is an opportunity for patience, or simply a neutral fact of life that requires no emotional drama. The walls of your fortress are built from the consistent choice to focus only on your own thoughtful response. So take a moment and close your eyes. Visualize your own inner citadel. What does it look like? Is it made of ancient stone, weathered but unbreakable? Or is it a more modern structure of clarity and purpose? Now ask yourself this. What actions or thoughts consistently strengthen its walls? Perhaps it is your morning reflection, your commitment to understanding what you can influence, or your practice of gratitude. And just as importantly, what weakens them? Is it the hours spent on digital feeds, the constant concern over opinions you cannot change, or the reluctance to accept a situation that is already here? Your sovereignty over this inner space is the ultimate reward of thoughtful mental organization, a quiet kingdom where you are always truly home. The Stoics did not just think about these ideas, they wrote them down every night. This nightly practice of journaling was their tool for externalizing the internal, for taking the day's complexity and giving it order on the page. It is a systematic way of clearing the mind before rest, ensuring that lessons are remembered and experiences become teachers. Marcus Aurelius himself was not writing a book for publication. he was filling his private pages with reminders and reflections, a work we now know as meditations. His journal was his conversation with himself, a space for honest self-consideration and realignment with his core principles. The process is elegantly simple, built around 3 essential questions you can ask yourself each evening. First, what did I do well today in accordance with my values? This is not about grand achievements, but about moments of patience, an act of kindness, or a time you chose a thoughtful response over a reactive one. Acknowledging these small victories reinforces the pathways of thoughtful action. Second, ask, where did I fall short and what could I improve? The goal here is gentle observation, not harsh self-assessment. Perhaps you noticed yourself becoming impatient in a long line or avoiding a difficult but necessary task. Identifying these points without judgment allows you to plan for a better response tomorrow. Finally, reflect, what did I learn about the world, others, or myself? This question transforms every experience, even the most ordinary, into a source of insight. Perhaps a conversation revealed a new perspective, or a challenge taught you something about your own resilience. Imagine a typical day where a work project encountered an unexpected delay. In your evening journal, you might write that you did well by staying calm and focusing your team on solutions. You could improve by not allowing the initial frustration to affect your tone in an email. And you learned that clear communication at the outset can prevent misunderstandings later. This 10-minute practice does more than record events. It organizes your inner world, sorting the day's impressions into structured lessons. Your journal becomes the guardian of your progress, a tangible record of your growing inner stability. Tonight, before you sleep, take a notebook and answer these 3 simple questions with quiet honesty. This single evening could mark the beginning of a new relationship with your own mind, one where every day, no matter how challenging, contributes to the unshakable foundation of your inner strength. How much mental energy is wasted worrying about an outcome you cannot fully control? This constant preoccupation with results is a primary source of our inner instability, chaining our peace of mind to external events. The Stoic solution is a profound form of cognitive detachment, where you learn to invest your entire being in the quality of your actions while releasing your grip on the outcome. This is the final, liberating application of the dichotomy of control. Your effort is yours, the result is not. The ancient teacher Epictetus offered a perfect analogy for this mindset. He compared life to an archer. A good archer, he said, does everything within their power to make the perfect shot. They carefully select their arrow, they train their body, they focus their eye on the target, and they release the string with skill and precision. But once the arrow has left the bow, it is subject to the wind, the movement of the target, or a sudden distraction. The archer's job is complete. Hitting the bullseye is a preferred outcome, but it is not the measure of a virtuous performance. The measure is in the flawless execution of the shot itself. This shift in focus is the key to a profound and steady equanimity. Your self-worth is no longer tied to a scoreboard, a sales figure, or the approval of others. It is rooted in the integrity of your own effort, something that is always entirely within your command. Think of an athlete in the middle of a crucial game. If their mind is fixated on the final score, every missed play becomes a personal challenge, and every point for the other side feels like a momentary setback. But an athlete practicing this Stoic principle plays each moment to the best of their ability. They focus on their form, their strategy, their teamwork. They pour their energy into the present action, not the future result. Win or lose, they can walk off the field with their inner strength intact, knowing they performed with excellence in the areas they controlled. The same principle applies to an artist. If a painter creates only for gallery sales or public acclaim, their creative process becomes filled with uncertainty and hesitation. But an artist who creates for the sake of the art itself, who finds fulfillment in the act of mixing colors and applying brushstrokes, experiences a deep and lasting satisfaction that no market trend can diminish. Their joy is in the dedicated action of creation, not in the external reception of their work. This mental shift untethers your happiness from the unpredictable winds of fortune. Can you identify one goal in your own life where your peace has become too entangled with the result? Perhaps it is a promotion you are seeking, a creative project you are launching, or even a personal goal for your health. For a moment, consciously shift your internal focus. Stop visualizing the trophy, the title, or the number on the scale. Instead, pour all of your mental energy into the quality of the daily effort. Focus on the thoroughness of your preparation, the consistency of your practice, the integrity of your approach. When you do this, you reclaim a vast reservoir of mental energy previously spent on worry. You discover a calm and stable platform from which to act, regardless of how the external world responds. The organized mind lives firmly in the now. It understands that the past is a closed book and the future is a story yet to be written, leaving the present moment as the only realm where you can truly take action and live with virtue. The Stoics saw mental clutter not as a minor inconvenience, but as a fundamental misplacement of attention, a constant draining of energy into places where it can have no effect. Looking back anchors you to what cannot be changed, and looking ahead pulls you toward what cannot be known. Both take you away from the only time you ever really possess. Seneca captured this with piercing clarity when he observed that we often struggle more in imagination than in reality. Our minds spin elaborate tales of future challenges, creating a sense of difficulty for events that may never come to pass, while we ignore the quiet, manageable reality right in front of us. This is not a call to abandon planning or reflection, but a call to do so without emotional entanglement, to learn from the past without being chained to it, and to prepare for the future without fearing it. Your power lies exclusively in the choices you make at this very moment. Consider the simple act of sharing a meal with someone you care about. An unorganized mind might be physically at the table, but its attention is scattered. It is replaying a conversation from earlier in the day, or it is already mentally composing an email for tomorrow's meeting. You are there, but you are not truly present. The Stoic practice asks you to pull your attention back, to anchor it in the sensory reality of the now. Notice the warmth of the cup in your hands. Really listen to the tone of the other person's voice, not just the words. Taste the food. When your mind wanders, as it naturally will, gently guide it back to the immediate experience. In doing so, you are not just enjoying a meal more fully, you are training your mind to inhabit its only true home. The same principle transforms work. Staring at a complex task while thinking about its eventual reception divides your focus and saps your capacity. But when you pour your entire attention into the single sentence you are writing, the single line of code you are debugging, or the single customer you are helping, the work itself becomes a flow of focused action. The mental noise of what comes next simply falls away. For the next minute, wherever you are, try this small experiment in presence. Let your eyes settle on one object nearby. Notice its color and its shape. Listen for the most distant sound you can hear, and then the closest. Feel the contact of your body with the chair or the floor. Do not try to change anything, just observe. For these 60 seconds, there is no past to revisit and no future to manage. There is only this. This is the clean, well-lit room of the present moment, the one place where your inner stability is never in doubt. Stoics intentionally seek out small discomforts to build a fortress of contentment. This practice, known as voluntary discomfort, is a training regimen for the soul, a way to prove to yourself that happiness does not depend on perfect external conditions. It is the exact opposite of seeking pain. It is a profound exercise in freedom. By occasionally choosing a minor hardship, you demonstrate to your own mind that you are more resilient than your comforts would have you believe. The Roman teacher Musonius Rufus was a powerful advocate for this. He argued that practicing simplicity by willingly living with less for a short time was one of the surest ways to cultivate courage. He saw it as a preparation for uncertainty, a way to build strength before any real challenge arises. Seneca echoed this, writing that he would periodically adopt a lifestyle of simple food and rough clothing. He was not depriving himself, he was conducting an experiment to confirm a vital truth, that he could still be at peace, that his character could remain strong, even without his usual comforts. The goal is to discover that your baseline needs are surprisingly few, and that your capacity for contentment is already vast. Think of the simple act of taking a slightly colder shower than usual. The initial sensation is brisk, but as you stand under the water, you practice observing the feeling without immediately labeling it as bad or something to flee from. You breathe through the instinct to turn the dial to hot. In that small moment of mastery, you are not just getting clean, you are training your mind to face an unfamiliar feeling without being controlled by it. You are building evidence that you can handle a little unease, and that realization slowly drains the power from larger, unexpected challenges. Or consider choosing to walk a longer route home, feeling the slight fatigue in your legs instead of always seeking the easiest path. You are actively demonstrating to yourself that a little extra effort will not break you, it will only make you stronger. These are not grand gestures of self-denial. They are small, daily drills that forge a more resilient perspective. What is one small, voluntary discomfort you could safely incorporate into your week to test the edges of your comfort zone? It might be skipping a snack you routinely crave, or spending an hour without your phone, or even just sitting in a quiet room without any distraction. The specific practice matters less than the conscious choice behind it. In that choice, you are not weakening yourself, you are fortifying the inner self, proving that your peace is built on something far more durable than mere convenience. When your mind is organized around virtue, choice becomes clear. This is because virtue acts as your internal compass, a fixed point of reference that never wavers regardless of the storm around you. For the Stoics, virtue was not just a nice idea, it was the only true good. Everything else, from health to wealth to reputation, was considered a preferred or dispreferred indifferent, meaning it could be used well or poorly, but it did not define a good life. The ultimate measure of a life well lived was the excellence of one's character, and this character was built upon the four cardinal virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These are not abstract ideals, but practical tools for mental organization. They give you a consistent framework to filter your impressions, prioritize your actions, and make decisions without being pulled in conflicting directions by fear or desire. Marcus Aurelius wrote that if you find in human life anything better than justice, truth, temperance, and courage, turn to it with all your heart. But if you find all other things to be trivial and worthless, do not make room for anything else. This is the Stoics' unwavering standard. Imagine facing a modern ethical situation at work. You discover a colleague is taking credit for your work on a shared project. The unorganized mind might react with immediate frustration or retreat into passive disappointment, both states creating inner confusion and clouding your judgment. But when you consult your inner compass of virtue, the path forward gains structure. The virtue of justice asks, what is the fair and honorable action here? It guides you to seek a resolution that respects both your contribution and the working relationship. Courage empowers you to have that necessary conversation, not with aggression, but with a calm assertion of the truth. Wisdom helps you choose the right time and place for this discussion, considering the broader context, and temperance ensures your response is measured and proportional, not an overreaction fueled by personal feelings. By applying these virtues, you transform a chaotic, emotional problem into a series of clear, principled steps. Your mind is no longer a place of conflicting impulses, but a council chamber where wise advisors help you navigate toward the right action. Now bring this closer to your own life. Which of these 4 cardinal virtues feels most essential for you to cultivate right now? Is it wisdom, to see your current challenges with greater clarity and discernment? Is it courage, to face a concern or pursue a goal you have been avoiding? Perhaps it is justice, to stand up for what is right in a personal or professional situation. Or could it be temperance, to exercise more self-command over a habit or an impulse that drains your energy? Choose one. For the rest of today, let that single virtue be the lens through which you view your decisions and interactions. Notice how this focused intention brings a new kind of order to your thoughts, turning scattered reactions into purposeful, aligned action. Your inner compass is always there, waiting to guide you home to a more stable and coherent self. Remembering you will one day transition is the ultimate productivity hack. This is the heart of the Stoic practice known as Memento Mori, the remembrance of our own impermanence. It sounds stark, but its purpose is not to create fear. It is to create an intense and beautiful focus, cutting through the noise of trivial concerns to reveal what is genuinely meaningful. The Stoics saw this not as a morbid fixation, but as the most effective way to prioritize a limited and precious life. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you could leave life right now and let that determine what you do and say and think. He framed this transition not as a terrifying end, but as a natural part of the same process that governs the falling of a ripe fruit from a tree. It is a transformation, not a cancellation. By keeping this simple fact in mind, you are gifted with an immediate sense of proportion. The complaint you were rehearsing in your mind, the minor professional slight, the endless scroll through a digital feed, all of it loses its urgency when held against the backdrop of a finite existence. This mental tool forces a radical honesty about how you are spending your one irreplaceable life. Imagine facing a day filled with a dozen demands on your time. An unimportant meeting invitation appears in your calendar. The untrained mind might automatically accept, adding another item to an already crowded day out of a vague sense of obligation. But a mind practicing Memento Mori pauses. It asks a simple, piercing question. Is this how I want to spend an hour of my life? Is this the most valuable use of this fleeting time? The answer becomes clear almost instantly. You might choose to decline the meeting and instead use that hour to have a meaningful conversation with a team member, to work on a project that truly matters to you, or even to take a quiet walk to clear your head. The remembrance of impermanence did not make you less productive. It made you more intentional, directing your energy toward what has actual substance and weight. So ask yourself this reflective question with full seriousness. If you knew for certain you had 1 year left, what would you stop doing immediately? And what would you start? The first list likely includes habits like worrying over opinions you cannot change, or getting lost in petty conflicts. The second list points directly to your deepest values, to the relationships you want to nurture, and the contributions you feel called to make. This is not about a dramatic life overhaul, but about using the awareness of an ending to bring a profound and steady clarity to your very next beginning. The Stoics saw themselves as a single leaf on a vast, living tree. Each leaf appears separate, yet it draws life from the same roots and is moved by the same wind, part of a single, breathing organism. This profound sense of belonging is the heart of Sympathy, the recognition that we are all woven into a single, interconnected whole. To feel isolated or aggrieved is to forget this fundamental truth, to see only your own leaf trembling in the storm. Marcus Aurelius constantly returned to this idea, reminding himself that all things are intertwined and that a sacred bond connects them. He wrote that one thing follows another in a beautiful order, and that the world is a single living being with one substance and one soul. When you internalize this perspective, the mental noise of personal grievance begins to quiet. Your individual concern, while real, is no longer a solitary burden but a single note in a universal symphony, shared in essence by countless others. This shift does not erase your challenge, but it places it in a context so vast that its power to overwhelm you diminishes. Consider the flash of frustration in traffic when another driver moves abruptly in front of you. The immediate, ego-driven reaction is to see them as an obstacle, an inconsiderate interruption to your important journey. Your mind fills with the noise of personal offense. But Sympathy asks you to see the person in that other car as another leaf on the same tree. Perhaps they are rushing to a family member who is unwell, or they are exhausted after a long shift, or they are simply having a difficult day and made a mistake. They are not an abstract obstacle, but a fellow human being navigating their own set of challenges. This simple reframing dissolves the anger, replacing it with a moment of connection or, at the very least, a quiet understanding. The mental clutter of frustration is cleared away by the spaciousness of compassion. Your own journey continues, but now with a calmer heart. Can you identify one recurring situation in your own life where frustration consistently arises, perhaps a disagreement with a specific person or a daily inconvenience? For just a moment, apply the lens of Sympathy. See that other person not as an adversary, but as another expression of the same universal nature, walking a path you may not fully see. Notice how this act of widening your view softens the edges of your own grievance, creating a little more room for peace in your inner world. In a world of constant noise, silence is the Stoic's secret tool for mental order. We fill our days with notifications, conversations, and endless digital streams, leaving little room for the one voice we most need to hear, our own inner reasoning. The Stoics understood that true clarity emerges not from consuming more information, but from creating space for quiet reflection. This practice of intentional silence is not about emptiness, but about tuning your mind to a different frequency, one where your deepest judgments can rise to the surface without competition. Seneca championed this retreat into quiet, writing that we must give ourselves repose, for our minds require stillness to regain their strength. He saw solitude not as loneliness, but as a necessary condition for the soul to gather itself and return to its own fundamental principles. This is the ultimate act of mental housekeeping, clearing away the clutter of external opinions to reveal the clean floor of your own understanding. Begin with just 5 minutes. Find a quiet chair and set a timer. Close your eyes and direct your attention to the simple, physical rhythm of your breathing. Do not try to control it, just observe the sensation of the air moving in and out. Your mind will wander almost immediately, offering up a forgotten task, a concern from yesterday, a plan for later. This is normal. Each time you notice your attention has drifted, gently and without judgment, guide it back to the breath. You are not failing, you are practicing the most basic form of mental discipline, teaching your mind that it can rest in the present moment without needing to chase every passing thought. In that small, silent space, the mental chatter begins to lose its power. The urgent becomes less pressing, and the important has room to speak. Can you schedule a short period of complete silence into your day, perhaps first thing in the morning or just before bed? This simple commitment is not an addition to your to-do list, but a subtraction of everything else, creating the inner quiet necessary for lasting stability to take root. The first step in managing any event is to see it plainly without the story you add. A car cuts you off in traffic. The raw event is simply a vehicle changing lanes. But the mind instantly layers on a judgment. That driver is rude. This is going to make me late. This is a terrible start to my day. We rarely encounter the world as it is. We encounter it as we have decided it is. This automatic storytelling is the primary source of our mental clutter, transforming neutral facts into personal dramas. The Stoics called the remedy for this objective representation, and it is a disciplined practice of stripping away the valued judgments we instinctively attach to our first impressions. Epictetus, who began his life in a situation of significant hardship, framed this with unforgettable clarity. He said, "What disturbs people are not the things themselves, but their judgments about those things." The event is inert. Your judgment gives it power. Take the sound of a neighbor's dog barking late at night. The objective fact is a series of sound waves traveling through the air. That is all it is, but if your mind immediately agrees with the judgment, "This is an intolerable disturbance. I will never get to sleep now," your entire nervous system responds as if under attack. Frustration and anger flood in. The sound itself did not do that. Your unchecked interpretation of the sound did. The practice of objective representation asks you to intercept that judgment at the gate. You hear the barking and you consciously describe it to yourself in sterile, factual terms. There is a dog. It is producing a sound. The sound has a certain volume and pitch. By holding the event in this neutral light, you prevent the emotional escalation before it can even begin. The disturbance loses its fuel. Can you recall a minor upset from your own recent experience, perhaps a last-minute change to a plan or a piece of critical feedback? Replay that moment now, but this time describe it using only objective facts. Set aside the story of what it meant or how it made you feel. Simply state what happened, as if you were a camera recording the scene. This mental skill of seeing things as they are, not as your fears or desires paint them, is the foundation of a truly organized and stable mind. How to be ambitious and calm at the same time. Use the Stoic reserve clause. This is the art of planning with a quiet asterisk in your mind, a gentle acknowledgement that your effort is yours to give, but the final outcome is not yours to command. It is the practical fusion of intention and acceptance, allowing you to pursue your goals with total dedication while holding the results with an open hand. Seneca beautifully captured this mindset when he wrote about setting sail or planting a tree, always adding the phrase, "if nothing prevents me." He was not expressing doubt but wisdom. He was integrating the reality of life's unpredictability directly into his plans, thus immunizing himself against the shock of change. Imagine you are organizing an important outdoor gathering. You pour your energy into the preparations, you create a thoughtful guest list, you arrange for food and music, you check the weather forecast daily. Your effort is complete and wholehearted. The Stoic reserve clause is the mental note you add, fate permitting. This means that if a sudden storm arrives and forces you to cancel, your inner stability is not washed away with the rain. You can acknowledge the disappointment without being defined by it, because you never assumed absolute control over the outcome in the first place. Your peace was anchored in the quality of your preparation, not in the weather itself. Now bring this to a professional goal you are actively pursuing, perhaps launching a new project or seeking a promotion. You do everything within your power, you prepare meticulously, you perform with excellence. The reserve clause is the silent understanding you carry that market conditions or the decisions of others, or simply the unfolding of events, may lead to a different result than you hoped for. This is not a license for half-hearted effort. It is permission for wholehearted effort without the accompanying inner turmoil. Can you take one goal you are working towards right now and mentally add those two words, fate permitting? Feel how that simple phrase creates a space for peace around your ambition. It allows you to strive with all your strength while resting in the knowledge that your character, not your circumstances, is the ultimate measure of your success. What three qualities would define your wisest possible self? The Stoics offered a powerful mental model to answer that question, the figure of the sage. This idealized person of perfect wisdom and virtue was not a historical figure to be worshipped, but a practical compass for daily living. When faced with a difficult choice or a surge of anger, you can pause and ask a single orienting question: what would the sage do in this situation? This is not an invitation to perfectionism or self-criticism. It is the opposite, a tool to create distance from your own raw impulses and measure them against a consistent, higher standard. The sage acts with courage when others would retreat, with justice when it would be easier to be unfair, and with calm reason when emotions run high. Epictetus reminded his students that while a perfectly wise person is rare, the ideal itself is crucial, for we can only stretch and grow if we have something to reach toward. Think of a moment when you felt the pull of a harsh word or the temptation to avoid a necessary but uncomfortable truth. Your initial impulse is one path. Now invoke your model of the sage. How would this wise version of you respond? Perhaps the sage would choose silence over a cutting remark, recognizing that words cannot be taken back. Or maybe the sage would lean into the difficult conversation, speaking with honesty and respect. You are not failing because you are not the sage. You are succeeding by using that ideal to guide your next better decision. Consider a professional dilemma where a shortcut could offer a quick benefit. The untrained mind might justify the easier path, but when you consult your inner sage, the question shifts from what can I get away with to what action builds a character I can respect. The sage chooses the path of integrity, not because it is rewarded, but because it is right. This mental model organizes your character around a fixed point, turning a confusing array of options into a clear choice for virtue. So take a moment to define your own sage. What three qualities would this wisest self embody? Perhaps it is unwavering patience, profound compassion, or unshakable integrity. Write them down. Let these qualities be the standards you hold up in moments of uncertainty. Your sage is not a distant figure, but the clearest expression of who you are learning to become. The obstacle is not in the way, it is the way. This powerful refrain lies at the heart of the Stoic shift in perspective, where every barrier is transformed from a blockade into a training ground. Marcus Aurelius put it with unforgettable clarity, writing that the impediment to action advances action, and what stands in the way becomes the way. He was not offering a comforting platitude but stating a practical law of mental physics. A log across your path is not just something to remove, it is the material you use to build a bridge. This is the active, daily application of loving your fate, where you stop seeing a challenge as an enemy to your peace and start seeing it as the very substance your peace is made of. A project delay, for instance, feels like a failure to the untrained mind. It triggers frustration and a sense of being thwarted. But with this Stoic shift, you pause and ask a different set of questions. How can this delay serve as an opportunity to practice the virtue of patience? Can it give you the gift of extra time to refine your plans, making the final outcome even stronger? Does it offer a chance to exercise creativity in problem solving that you would have otherwise missed? the obstacle itself becomes the curriculum for your growth. Your patience is not truly tested when everything flows smoothly. It is forged in the moments you are forced to wait. Your resilience is not built on a foundation of easy successes. It is carved out of the rock of unexpected setbacks. Think of a current obstacle in your own life, perhaps a difficult person you must interact with or a resource you seem to lack. Now apply this shift. Do not ask how you can remove this person from your path, but how this interaction can become your practice in understanding or clear communication. Do not focus on the absence of the resource, but see its lack as the raw material for cultivating ingenuity and resourcefulness. The very thing you believed was holding you back is in fact the precise tool you need to build a stronger, more capable version of yourself. Much of our mental suffering comes from wanting the wrong things. We chase after outcomes, possessions, and validations that lie entirely outside the boundaries of our own will, setting ourselves up for a cycle of craving and disappointment. The Stoic discipline of desire addresses this directly, training you to align your deepest wants with what is truly good, which is your own virtuous character, and to accept everything else with a tranquil heart. This is not about suppressing desire, but about redirecting its immense power toward the only thing that can never be taken from you. Epictetus, who understood the weight of external circumstances, stated that freedom is secured not by the fulfillment of what you desire, but by the removal of desire itself. He meant letting go of those frantic, unhealthy attachments to what you cannot control, thereby liberating your inner world from their hold. The Stoics made a crucial distinction here between natural preferences and corrosive attachments. They called things like health, a comfortable living, or the respect of others preferred indifference. You can prefer them, work toward them, and enjoy them when they are present. But you must never see them as essential to your happiness because they do not define a good life. Your peace must be rooted in something more stable, in the quality of your own choices and actions. Consider the desire to win a competition. When your want is fixed solely on the trophy, the title, or the victory itself, you have chained your happiness to a result governed by judges, competitors, and chance. If you lose, your entire emotional world can feel shaken. But if, through the discipline of desire, you shift your want to performing with courage, skill, and complete integrity, then you have aligned your desire with nature. You have focused on what is yours to command. Win or lose, you walk away fulfilled because you achieved the very thing you set out to achieve, an excellent performance. The same principle applies to a desire for a certain professional role. Craving the job for its title and salary places your contentment in the hands of a hiring committee. But desiring to present your most capable and honest self during the interview process, to prepare thoroughly and speak with clarity, is a desire aligned with your own virtue. The outcome is met with calm acceptance because your core want to act with excellence was satisfied the moment you walked out of the room. So look at one desire you are holding right now. Identify one want that depends entirely on an external outcome, on a decision someone else will make or a circumstance you cannot dictate. Now reframe that desire. How can you transform it from a want for a specific result into a want for a specific quality of action, a virtue you can embody regardless of the final outcome? This subtle but profound shift in what you truly long for is the key to unlocking a deep and lasting inner stability. Before the day's chaos begins, the Stoic anchors their mind with gratitude. This is not a vague sense of thankfulness, but a deliberate and active practice of mental focus. It is a conscious choice to direct your attention toward the assets you already possess, creating an immediate and powerful counterweight to the mind's natural tendency to fixate on what is missing or what could go wrong. In doing so, you build a foundation of present abundance that external events cannot easily erode. Marcus Aurelius began his own days with this exact exercise, filling his private pages with specific acknowledgments. He wrote of being grateful for the kindness of his family, for the health that allowed him to work, and even for the simple pleasure of a good night's sleep or the taste of fresh bread. He was training his perception to see the good woven into the fabric of ordinary life, a skill that fortified him against the inevitable challenges of his role. You can adopt this same ritual each morning. Before you reach for your phone or begin the mental list of the day's demands, pause for just 1 minute. Bring to mind 3 specific things you are grateful for in that very moment. It could be the warmth of the blanket, the sound of birds outside your window, or the simple fact that you have a plan for the day. The key is in the specificity. Instead of a general thought of being grateful for your health, you might note gratitude for the feeling of strength in your legs as you stand. This practice does not ignore life's difficulties, but it ensures you are not defined by them. It roots your mind in the concrete reality of the present, where stability is always available if you know how to look for it. For the next 3 mornings, commit to this small act of mental organization. Notice how this simple shift in focus from lack to abundance begins to quietly rewire your inner world, creating a steady anchor that holds you fast through any storm. A cluttered space often reflects a cluttered mind, and the Stoics understood this deeply. They viewed the chase for luxury and the piling up of possessions not merely as distractions, but as real weights on our inner freedom. By intentionally reducing the external noise and physical items that pull at our attention, we actively make more room for what truly counts, for quiet thought, for living well, and for a richer connection with our own experience. Seneca wrote with great feeling about this, questioning the endless pursuit of having more. He noted that it is not the person who has very little who is poor, but the one who always desires more. He advocated for a life of simplicity, not as a kind of lack, but as the surest way to a rich inner life. A life filled with unnecessary things, he suggested, is a life that feels heavy, leaving little energy for building a resilient and calm character. This age-old insight resonates strongly with the modern approach of minimalism. It is the same idea applied to our surroundings. Every object we keep holds not just a physical weight, but a mental one as well. It asks for care, it calls for a choice, it takes up a small part of our focus. When these items accumulate, they generate a steady, quiet hum of mental noise, a background static that can make it hard to listen to our own reflections. The practice of clearing out clutter then becomes a Stoic exercise in moderation. It is the conscious decision to identify what is truly needed and to let go of what is extra, training your discernment to value tranquility over accumulation. Begin with just one small, defined part of your life. Pick a single drawer in your desk or one shelf in your closet. As you look through each thing, use a simple filter inspired by Stoic thought. Does this item serve a clear role in supporting my values or my well-being? Does its presence add to a feeling of calm and order, or does it create a subtle weight? You might come across a pile of old papers that brings a sense of unfinished tasks, or a gadget you never use that hints at a past choice. As you clear these items away, pay attention to the immediate shift in your mind. It is not just about making empty space, it is about creating mental capacity. The cleared surface is a visible sign of a mind that has chosen focus over fragmentation. So gently ask yourself this reflective question: what is one physical possession you have that creates more mental burden than joy? It could be an article of clothing that does not fit but holds a memory, a kitchen tool that complicates more than it helps, or even a decorative piece that feels more like a duty than a delight. Naming this single object is the first step in a wider practice of thoughtful selection, a daily intention to make sure your outer world supports, rather than overwhelms, your inner quiet. You are not an isolated self, you are a node in a network of relationships, each with its own duties. Every connection, from family and friendship to your role as a colleague or citizen, comes with a set of expectations that are not chains, but guide rails for a meaningful life. The Stoics saw these social roles as a pre-written script for virtue, a structured framework that organizes your priorities and gives your actions a clear, purposeful direction. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in the world, constantly reminded himself of this. He wrote that his duty was to be what his role as a Roman emperor required, to be dignified, energetic, and devoted to the well-being of the people. He did not see the immense weight of his position as a personal burden, but as a series of specific, daily opportunities to practice justice, courage, and self-command. This perspective transforms obligation from something you have to endure into something you get to express. Your roles provide a ready-made answer to the question of what you should do next. When you are unsure how to act, you can simply ask, what would a good parent do in this situation, or a trustworthy friend, or a responsible community member? The answer that arises is almost always clear, cutting through the fog of indecision and personal preference. Consider a common workplace situation where a team member has not delivered on their part of a project. Your initial, ego-driven reaction might be frustration or the desire to complain about them to others. But if you pause and put on the mantle of your role as a good colleague, your priorities instantly reorganize. A good colleague seeks to understand before being understood. A good colleague offers support to help the team succeed. A good colleague addresses issues directly and respectfully. This role-based filter simplifies a complex emotional situation into a series of virtuous actions. Your focus shifts from how this person has inconvenienced you to how you can fulfill your own duty to the collective goal. The mental energy previously spent on frustration is now channeled into constructive problem solving. Take a quiet moment to list your own key social roles in life. Are you a parent, a child, a friend, a mentor, a neighbor, a professional? For each role you identify, ask yourself a gentle, reflective question. Am I fulfilling this role virtuously? What would it look like today to be a slightly better version of this role? The answer is not about grand gestures, but about the small, consistent choices that weave your life into the larger, interconnected whole, providing a profound and lasting sense of belonging and purpose. Your worries seem immense until you view them against the backdrop of the cosmos. This shift in perspective is a powerful form of mental organization, and the Stoics called the rational order behind it all the logos. They saw the universe not as a chaotic accident, but as a single, living being guided by a profound and intelligent principle. Our own minds, they believed, contain a small fragment of this same cosmic reason, which means our personal sense of order can resonate with the grand order of the whole. When you feel your own concerns tightening into a knot, this practice asks you to untie them by looking up. Marcus Aurelius often did this, writing that we should often look to the universal nature and reflect on the connection between all things. He would gaze at the stars to remind himself of his own small, yet integral, place in a system of unimaginable scale and beauty. The specific problem that felt like a world-ending event moments before suddenly shrinks to its true size, a single note in an eternal symphony. You are not diminishing your experience, you are placing it within a context so vast that it naturally quiets the inner noise. A modern way to practice this is to simply go outside on a clear night and look up. You do not need a telescope, just your own eyes. Watch the steady, silent movement of the constellations, Or you could watch a documentary about the depths of space, seeing images of nebulae where new stars are born from clouds of cosmic dust. In those moments, your concern about a missed deadline or a passing remark begins to feel less solid, less permanent. It is gently overshadowed by the sheer awe of existence itself. This feeling of awe is not an escape from your life, but a recalibration of your inner compass. It organizes your mind by reminding you that you are part of something magnificent, and that your capacity for reason is your personal connection to the intelligence that arranged it all. Tonight or sometime this week, find 5 minutes to contemplate something vast. It could be the ocean, a mountain range, or simply the night sky. As you observe it, notice what happens to the weight of your personal worries. Do they not feel a little lighter, a little less urgent when held in the palm of such immense and quiet order? A business takes regular inventory to stay solvent, and a Stoic performs a nightly audit of the mind to remain stable. This is not a casual reflection but a disciplined practice of self-examination, a systematic check on the alignment between your actions and your deepest principles. Seneca described this as the most important part of the day, writing that you should call your mind to account each evening. What habit have you improved? What challenge have you faced? In what way are you growing? His questions were not meant for self-criticism, but for clear-eyed progress. This daily mental maintenance ensures that small missteps do not build into a life lived off course. It is the practical process that turns experience into lasting wisdom. Your evening journal is the record for this review, but the true work happens in the honest reflection behind it. Go beyond simply noting what you did. Ask yourself with gentle rigor, when did I act with courage today, and when did uncertainty shape my choices? Did my actions contribute to fairness and understanding in my small sphere of influence? Where did I follow an impulse that lessened my self-command? These questions transform your review from a diary entry into a strategic session for your character's growth. Think about a moment from your own day, perhaps a conversation where you spoke too quickly or a task you approached with delay. In your audit, you would not simply note the event. You would explore the underlying thinking that led to it. You might discover that a quick word came from a wish to be heard, or that putting something off was a cover for concern about an imperfect result. Understanding these deeper patterns is how you bring order to your inner world at its core. Tonight, before you sleep, conduct one completely honest self-review. Find a quiet space and ask these questions of yourself without judgment. Where did I live in harmony with my values today, and where did I wander? This single act of nightly maintenance builds the consistent inner clarity that outer turbulence cannot disturb. The opinions of others are like weather, constantly changing and not yours to command. When you rely on external praise or fear external blame to feel steady, you hand over the keys to your inner stability to forces you can never control. This chase for validation creates a mental roller coaster where your sense of worth rises and falls with every compliment and every casual remark. True stability emerges from a different source entirely, an internal scorecard that measures your actions against your own principles, not the applause of the crowd. The ancient teacher Epictetus offered a powerful mental exercise for this. He advised that when someone speaks harshly, you should remember they are not addressing the real you, your reasoned choice and moral purpose, but only their own limited impression. Their words are just sounds, and you have the final say on whether those sounds hold any power over your inner world. Consider two people receiving feedback on their work. The first person lives by an external scorecard. When a manager praises their report, they feel a surge of confidence and satisfaction. But later, when a colleague offers a minor observation, that same confidence shatters, and they spend the rest of the day questioning their abilities. Their mood is a leaf tossed by the wind of opinion. The second person, grounded in their own virtue, receives the same praise and observation. They listen to both with equal attention, accepting the useful information for growth, but their core sense of self remains unshaken. They feel neither inflated by the compliment nor diminished by the comment, because their worth was never on the table for discussion. Their inner citadel is secure. When was the last time someone's praise or opinion disproportionately affected your mood? Can you trace the moment your peace was traded for a few words from another person? That gentle inquiry is the starting point for reclaiming your mental center, building a quiet self-assurance that no outside opinion can easily shake. An oak tree does not grow in a day, and neither does a virtuous character. This slow, natural rhythm stands in stark contrast to our modern expectation of instant feedback and immediate transformation. The Stoics understood that the most meaningful developments in life cannot be rushed, and they cultivated the quiet strength of patience, seeing it not as passive waiting but as an active participation in the unfolding of time itself. Marcus Aurelius reflected on this necessary pace, reminding himself that even the person who is short of time respects the process of nature. He observed how a loaf of bread must be baked slowly, and how even the farmers do not sow and reap in the same season. This long view reorients your entire relationship with progress. You stop looking for daily proof of your growth and start trusting the cumulative power of your consistent, small efforts. Every time you choose a thoughtful response over a reactive one, you are planting a seed. You may not see a towering tree tomorrow, but you are enriching the soil of your character in a way that cannot be seen, only cultivated. Consider the process of learning a complex new skill, like playing a musical instrument or speaking a foreign language. The initial excitement can quickly give way to frustration when your fingers fumble or your accent feels clumsy. The untrained mind sees this immediate lack of mastery as a sign of failure and is tempted to abandon the effort entirely. But the mind practicing Stoic patience embraces the awkward phases as essential parts of the journey. It finds satisfaction not in a flawless performance, but in the simple, daily act of practice itself, trusting that expertise is the inevitable result of countless small, imperfect repetitions over a long period. This same principle applies to the delicate work of mending a strained relationship. You cannot force trust or understanding to reappear overnight with a single grand gesture. True repair happens through a steady series of small, reliable actions, a kind word kept, a promise honored, a patient listening ear offered again and again. It is the slow, faithful work of tending a garden where you water the seeds of connection daily, even when you cannot yet see any green shoots breaking through the surface. Your effort is in the tending while the growth itself operates on its own schedule. Where in your own life have you been demanding an oak tree from a freshly planted acorn? Identify one area, perhaps a professional skill you are developing or a personal habit you are trying to change, where your inner peace has become tangled with a desire for swift, visible results. For the next week, consciously release the need for daily evidence of success. Pour your energy entirely into the quality of your single, small effort for that day, and then let the result unfold in its own time. This shift from impatiently watching the clock to patiently tending the garden is how you build a stability that deepens with every passing season. At the center of the storm is your ruling faculty, the one thing no one can take. This core idea, which the Stoics called your proherses, is your ultimate inner command center. It is your capacity for choice, your moral purpose, the very essence of your will. Every practice we have explored, from sorting your concerns to loving your fate, serves a single overarching goal: to fortify this sovereign space against the chaos of the outside world. The teacher Epictetus laid this foundation with absolute clarity. He began his entire philosophy with a simple, powerful division. Some things are up to us, he wrote, and some things are not. Our own actions, our own judgments, our own desires and aversions, these are up to us. Our reputation, our property, our public office, these are not. Your ruling faculty is the seat of everything that is truly and entirely yours. It is the unassailable citadel within the larger citadel of your mind. When you strengthen it, you are not just managing stress, you are building a self that cannot be shaken because its foundation is built on what you alone control. Think back to the traffic jam, a situation entirely outside your command. The cars are stopped, the clock is ticking, the delay is a fact. Your ruling faculty is the space between that external event and your internal reaction. It is the part of you that observes the frustration rising and makes a conscious choice. Will you give your assent to the judgment that this is a difficult, challenging event, fueling anger and impatience? Or will you choose a different judgment that this is a neutral circumstance, an opportunity to practice patience, or simply a few minutes of unexpected quiet? The traffic jam does not change, but your experience of it is transformed by the decision made in your inner command center. This is your ultimate freedom. No external power, no difficult person, no sudden change of plans can ever force you to choose a specific judgment or desire. They can present the impression, but the final authority to agree or disagree rests solely with you. So take a quiet breath right now and affirm this truth to yourself. My judgment and my will are mine alone. This is the unshakable ground of your inner stability, the source of a peace that the world can neither give nor take away. Knowing the theory is one thing, living it is another. The gap between understanding a Stoic principle and embodying it in a moment of frustration can feel immense. The solution is not to try and overhaul your entire life at once, but to weave these practices so seamlessly into your existing routines that they become as automatic as breathing. The Stoics themselves saw philosophy not as a subject for academic debate, but as a practical art for living, a craft to be practiced daily until it becomes second nature. Seneca wrote that we must learn how to feel joy in the right way, a skill that comes only from consistent application. Begin with just one single practice. Do not attempt to master the view from above, the discipline of assent, and the premeditation of difficulties all in the same day. That is a recipe for mental exhaustion. Choose one that resonates most with your current challenges. Perhaps it is the simple act of sorting your concerns into what is and is not within your control each morning. Then use the powerful strategy of habit stacking. Link this new Stoic practice to an existing, well-established habit. You might decide that while your coffee brews each morning, you will mentally apply the dichotomy of control to one specific concern for the day. Or you could practice the discipline of assent during your daily commute, using the first red light you encounter as a natural trigger to pause and examine your initial judgments about the traffic. These small, anchored moments prevent the practice from feeling like another item on your to-do list. Another powerful method is to use subtle reminders. The ancient Stoics used their own memories and daily reflections, but you can place a small, unassuming object on your desk, a smooth stone or a particular pen, that serves as a personal prompt to return to your chosen practice. Every time your eyes fall upon it, it brings you back to your intention without any need for force. This is how theory becomes lived experience, not through grand, sweeping changes, but through these tiny, almost invisible threads of repetition. So now make a decision. Look back over the practices we have explored and choose just one to focus on for the next 7 days. Will it be the evening journal review, or the morning gratitude, or perhaps the mental reserve clause for your most important goal? Your commitment to this single, focused practice is the bridge that turns intellectual understanding into unshakable inner stability. Think of each Stoic practice as a small deposit into your bank account of mental stability. Every morning you pause for gratitude, you are depositing a single coin. Every evening you review your day with gentle honesty, you add another. Every time you pause before reacting to a difficult impression, you are making another small investment in your inner peace. On any given day, the balance might not feel significantly different, but over months and years, the principle of compound interest takes over, and your initial, modest efforts generate a stability that becomes self-sustaining and immense. The Stoics understood this principle of gradual growth perfectly. They compared the cultivation of character to the work of a craftsman shaping wood or a farmer tending a field, where the final form emerges not from one grand gesture, but from 10,000 small, careful strokes. Seneca wrote that time discovers truth, and that many things are made clear by the mere passing of the days. Your daily practice is the quiet work of discovery, uncovering a more resilient version of yourself one day at a time. Now picture the mental state of someone just beginning this path. A challenging event like a sudden professional shift can feel like a tidal wave, threatening to overwhelm their entire emotional landscape. Their initial reaction might be one of frustration or concern, and it takes a conscious, effortful pause to apply a Stoic principle, often after the first wave of feeling has already arrived. Now contrast this with the same individual 5 years later, after thousands of those small mental deposits. When an identical situation occurs, their inner world does not erupt. There is no tidal wave. Instead, the principles have become so integrated that their response is almost instinctual. They might observe the event, apply the dichotomy of control to separate their effort from the outcome, and begin formulating a calm response, all with a steady heart. The challenge is still real, but it is now met by a robust psychological foundation, built through consistent daily training. The difficulty does not disappear, but its power to unsettle has been profoundly diminished by the compounded strength of your practice. So take a moment and project yourself 1 year into the future. Imagine you have made just one of these practices, perhaps the evening review or the morning mental sorting, a non-negotiable part of your daily routine. How would your inner landscape feel different? Would the same daily frustration still hold the same power over your peace? The stability you seek is not a distant destination, but the natural, cumulative result of the small, faithful choices you make today. Your inner citadel stands complete, a quiet fortress built from the daily practice of Stoic principles. You began by sorting your thoughts, learning to invest energy only in what you can truly influence. You installed a mental guard at the gate, pausing to question every initial impression before allowing it to shape your reality. You practiced seeing your life from a vast and calming distance, and you even rehearsed potential challenges to soften their impact. Through it all, you learned to embrace your path, turning every obstacle into the very way forward. These are not separate techniques, but a single, integrated system for mental organization. The dichotomy of control provides the foundation, cognitive discipline maintains the walls, and virtue serves as the unwavering compass guiding every decision within. This entire journey leads to the profound peace Seneca described when he wrote that a mind organized in this way is a kind of sanctuary, a sacred space where nothing can disturb its steady, tranquil rhythm. This is not a theoretical ideal, but a practical, achievable path for anyone willing to begin. The transformation from mental noise to inner stability is a choice made each day in small, consistent actions. So the final question is a personal one. Which single Stoic practice will you choose to start building your own unshakable inner citadel? Share the first step of your journey in the comments below and subscribe for more guided wisdom to help you live a life of purpose and